and we are going to call the City of West Melbourne's council meeting to order Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Please stand and with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right, we will start with, we don't need roll call. We have Diana Adams is joining us electronically. You can see her down there. And we will start off with the presentations and proclamations. And I'm going to go right down here. Justin Lauer, if you can meet me right down there. And
Hi.
coming. All right. All right, so this is a certificate of appreciation. Excuse my back half of you. Kind of hard to do this. I can do this. Here we go. Certificate of appreciation for Justin Lauer for his significant contribution over the last 3 decades supporting, encouraging, promoting, and coaching children involved in Brevard County youth soccer. We further congratulate Justin Lauer for being inducted into the 2025 Space Coast Sports Hall of Fame. We appreciate your service to the community. Thank you very, very much. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I'll say a few things. Thank you, Mayor Young. Appreciate you bringing me up here for this great honor this evening. Over the past 20 years or so, I have served as a board member on the Brevard Youth Soccer League, board of directors, chairman for about the past 8 years. Currently, I'm also the state level vice president for Florida Youth Soccer Association. I got elected at the state convention this past August for a 2-year term to represent our area for the state of Florida. And I've also brought a number of soccer events into West Melbourne that played at Max Rhodes Park and helped with a lot of community development and probably some positive news for the economy here at the hotels and restaurants and other traffic that comes through the area. So I'm just glad to be here to help make a difference for our youth in Brevard County, to promote the game of soccer, keep kids out of trouble, and also some added benefit to our community in a financial perspective.
All right, thank you very, very much. I'll put this back here. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Thank you. All right. Good night. All right, our next recipient is Aging Matters. Matters, not manners. Matters. Thank you very much. And this is for, I need eyeballs. Sorry.
It's a little small.
It's a little small. Whereas Aging Matters in Brevard, originally known as the Community Service Council, was a not-for-profit organization founded on June 7, 1965, to champion the case of seniors throughout the Space Coast today. Aging Matters is the leading agency providing direct support services to seniors across Brevard County by promoting independence, health, safety, and quality of life initiatives. And whereas Aging Matters in Brevard employs 85 staff and over 800 volunteers to provide life-changing services annually to hundreds of seniors countrywide, including 79,000 hours of companionship, respite, socialization, safety, wellness, checks, and light housekeeping. And whereas Aging Matters in Brevard has prepared more than 425,000 meals in Brevard Community Kitchen, has distributed 336,000 meals through its Meals on Wheels program and operates 13 Seniors at Lunch community dining centers, as well as providing pet food monthly to 160 clients through Pets on Wheels. And, bet you didn't know that. And whereas Aging Matters in Brevard operates the Sunflower House in West Melbourne, providing critical caregiver support, recruited RSVP, which stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program, volunteers for its own organization and many others, and offered bone builders classes for 370 seniors to prevent osteoporosis. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor and the City of Council of the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, hereby recognize and commend Aging Matters in Brevard for 60 years of distinguished service to the citizens, particularly the senior citizens of Brevard County, and congratulates the Board of Directors and leadership team for a job well done. Witness my hand and seal on this day, the 3rd day of June, 2025. Thank you. Thank you. Would you like?
Again, we are grateful to have this proclamation. Aging Matters has been around for a long time. We started as Community Service Council of Brevard, and in 2012, we became Aging Matters in Brevard. We provide senior services to try and keep a senior healthy, independent, in their homes, and safe. What we do each day is sometimes we don't know how we get it done. So we provide from Meals on Wheels services to congregate dining to respite, home care, light housekeeping. We do ramps, grab bars. So all those vital services to help that senior is just what we do each day. Now, I was here 3 years ago making a presentation to have our 13th congregate dining site in the county, and also to bring our caregiver service from Merritt Island to here, caregiver support service with the Sunflower House. We are so grateful that the City of West Melbourne actually gave us that site, and we went from a rent of $1,400 per month to an astounding rent of $1. And those kind of savings, that kind of dedication, and then the response from the community is what we do and how we survive. So we are so grateful for the City of West Melbourne. We're so grateful you were there that day for that presentation, and we just want to thank you. And we want to thank the council, yes. So we appreciate you.
Thank you very, very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. I'll take this back now. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Nope.
We're good?
No, just nobody get a picture.
You want to hold this? Ken, do you want to get in this one? Nope. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Our third recipient is not here, so I'll just take this with me and we'll catch him next time. Thank you all.
And you dodged having to say that name.
I did. I did. Medlumbian, something to that. Okay, all right, so we will move on now with modifications to the agenda. There are none. Public hearings, public forum. I have public forum. Persons wishing to speak may, I didn't read this to open up the meeting.
Go ahead.
Okay, persons wishing to speak must fill out a request to speak form and hand it to the city clerk. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Public forum will be limited to 30 minutes. Here I have my speaker cards, and I apologize for not doing that, but I should have. Vanessa Manning.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Vanessa Manning. I'm a resident of Hammock Lakes East. Our family lives directly across from the entrance to the woods to the path, with a path to Hammock Lakes Park. I'm just trying to get some clarification on what changes are being made by the city and which are being made under the direction of our HOA. Recently, the sidewalk leading to the woods was widened. My understanding was that was done by the city to provide more room for emergency and/or city vehicles to get through the woods to the park for emergencies, maintenance, and possibly improvements. And I can understand that, but I wish more care had been taken in laying the sidewalk because it's kind of a two-tone eyesore. Now our residents are hearing conflicting information regarding a potential gate going up before the woods and the possibility of the city using the recently cleared area to store vehicles or equipment or both. There have already been city trucks driving up the sidewalk, and there is mulch that appears to have been placed there. Whether this is at the city's discretion or the HOA's or something that is being worked on between the two, I am concerned about how these changes will impact the wildlife in the area, the tranquility we enjoy in our neighborhood, the safety of our families, and also our property values. So thank you in advance for any information you can provide regarding this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alicia Lupkacher.
Mayor, can I say one thing? Mr. City Manager, I'm guessing that you're going to reach out and have a conversation because I know there's some ongoing stuff going on there.
Yeah, our Public Works installed essentially a second row of sidewalk next to the existing sidewalk in order to be able to get our equipment in there. As we were bringing in our mow equipment, obviously it was rutting up that area. So we put a second row of sidewalk to make more of a little bit of a road that the trucks can stay on. We ended up putting our mulch, which was the leftover from the hurricane there in order to get it off-site for the water plant, but the mulch will be disappearing as we're disposing of it, and so that should be disappearing pretty soon. As far as the clearing, we just cleared the path. There's, if you're familiar with the Glassburn entrance to the park there's kind of a winding path through the nature area, and so that was cleared back in order to be able to access that for our equipment maintenance or any police or fire vehicles. And so I think what's being referenced is the HOA president reached out to me last week, had some ideas about the park and about the entrance strip, if you will. I don't exactly know what to call it. It's the two sidewalk paths are between two homes, and it's kind of the entrance off of Glassburn, and had several different ideas and concepts. And we met him on site Monday morning, and we just had a conversation about that. And so very, very early stages, but I assure you we're building a new public works facility at the water plant, so we have no desire to put any buildings there. It's all nature area and low-lying flood area, and so not looking to store. We have a spot for all of our vehicles. It's not a maintenance shop. It's not anything more than just clearing that area to be able to get better access to the city park there.
All right, thank you. Did you want to continue, Alicia?
I've already made my little speech up here. Thank you for letting us talk tonight.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Alicia Lebkeisher, and I live at 2713 Glassburn Circle. I live across the street from the pedestrian walking path. That's what they call it. They call it a pedestrian walking path. Into the preserve area that leads into the Hammock Lake City of West Melbourne Park. I have lived in the community since 2003. I was actually one of the first 5 homes to move into the community. Last fall, we started seeing activity at this entrance. At the time, I was told it was to clear a path that was overgrown and needed trimming. I fully agreed with that because it had been 20 years since that path had been cleared. It had never been touched, so actually foot traffic decreased because people couldn't get through it. I was told that this was the widening for emergency vehicles in case of fire truck to the lack of entry into the access to the park. Totally get that. For the past 20 years, the city has used the front entrance for maintenance. I'm aware of the struggles the city has. Sorry, I got off my little. I'm aware of the struggles the city has with the entrance to the park. Fast forward, we now have a larger pathway that's not centered, so if you have OCD, it kind of throws you off. a lot more activity with city trucks. And then the latest was the trucks come in with the big trailers dumping big piles of mulch that look like a big hill in the middle of the wooded area. As you know, we've heard a lot of different explanations for this activity. One was possible maintenance entrance to the park with a fence. I'm here tonight not to blame anyone, really clarity and transparency. This area is between homes, it's a regular residential street. We are concerned that the changes in how they will impact our neighborhood and our property values. We love our wooded path to the park, and so many people from surrounding area walk this path daily with their children and their animals. We hope we can get an explanation and clarity from the city, which you kind of have, and hope that the city and our HOA can come up with a plan that is safe for our families and protect the wildlife that we love that's currently there. And that's it. We just want everybody to be safe and keep our little park. But we also need it to be safe. And the other suggestion I had is that pathway, cars can go down that now. Now I haven't seen any because I live right across the street. But what's stopping a car from driving in there? And there's people walking. So I don't know if there's something temporary that can be put up, like little poles or something, just for safety. But that's it. It's our little, and I encourage everybody to come out and see that pathway. It's kind of hidden off of Glassburn. You'd never know it. It's just a little sidewalk into the preserve. So anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now on a totally different subject, Ashlyn Auerkamp. What are these says next speaker? State your name and your address, please.
Ashlyn Auerkamp, 4216 Brooms Edge Circle. Thank you for your time today. I sent you an email yesterday about some ideas for additional expansions on Norfolk Parkway, and I want to explain here more reasons why I think that would be a good idea. My main proposal is for a connection from the rear entrance of Sawgrass Lakes down to Pineapple Cove, West Melbourne. Many Sawgrass children ride bikes and scooters to to Pineapple Cove, in addition to all of the families who drive their kids there. The current path that students must take from the back corner of Sawgrass is about 1.7 miles long. By car, this takes only a few minutes when there's no traffic. By bike, it will probably take about 15 minutes, and walking, according to Google Maps, takes over half an hour. And these travel times would be too long for perhaps a kindergartner to go by themselves, although for the older students who are teenagers, this would seem more reasonable. But the route has to wind around the neighborhoods of Sawgrass and then run along Norfolk Parkway. In contrast, the western edge of Sawgrass nearly perfectly aligns with the school. I propose that a path be built that runs along this western edge of Sawgrass to Pineapple Cove. One possibility could be an actual road. There is a road that terminates at the Willows neighborhood and could be extended down and around the side. And perhaps this second entrance to Sawgrass could assist with the school's rush hour traffic by providing residents with a back way into their community, or by providing a better path for the school's drop-off system in general. This option would subsequently reduce the amount of cars in the main traffic on Norfolk and the number of cars needing to turn at Shallow Creek. If a road would not work, another option to consider would be a trail for walkers, bikers, or perhaps even golf carts. The trail would keep students away from the cars driving down Norfolk, thus providing them a safer alternate path. It would also be shorter for many students. By my calculations, based on the distance of the trail, travel times would be cut nearly in half depending on where the students live. This would be not only more convenient for the students and parents, but it would also help the kids have less time traveling in the hot sun and rain each day. As a side note, I have been curious as to whether any additional north-south roads are being considered to connect with Norfolk, perhaps down to Emerson and north to 192. I know that more roads could lead to greater convenience and flexibility, but would also strongly impact the residents who would be along these new paths. So I just ask that you look into these and consider them for future expansions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Frampus.
Mr. Rhoda, correct me if I'm wrong, but and thank you for the email that you sent and the drawing that you put on there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rhodey, but the property that was shown in the drawing doesn't belong to the city and it's privately owned by the Platte Ranch currently, correct? So we wouldn't be able to do anything on that property because it doesn't belong to the city. And to answer your question, Norfolk Parkway is scheduled to be extended all the way to Heritage Parkway, going out to the west in the next, I don't know, year or so, maybe two.
Yeah, I mean, road projects tend to take at least a year to get designed and approved and permitted, mostly because of the stormwater. So if the project that was discussed here at the council meeting about a month ago with D.R. Horton, if that continues to move through at the speed they're talking, I would anticipate construction within a year and then, being complete probably within another year from that, so.
All right, thank you. No other speaker cards? All right, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. This is to approve the regular council meeting of minutes of Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Mr. Frampus.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley.
Second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Frampus and we have a second from Mr. Bentley. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Adams. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item, action agenda items, final plat for Space Coast Town Center. Christy Fisher will handle this item.
The applicant's representative is also in the audience. Remember, this is the item that was on the agenda last time and was postponed. They were ready for this council meeting. So the background of this project is Space Coast Town Center, and the spelling for the ownership in the plat is different than the word center we use. It's more like the Old English one. This is about the west side of St. John's Heritage Parkway. So the aerial on the right-hand side of the screen shows the subject property, 73.68 acres. It's west of St. John's Heritage Parkway, south of US 192. And the applicant's request, they're still part of the Space Coast Town Center. So it's not that it's not part of it. I had that question last week. It's just to do what we call a subdivision, a final plat. Final plat and subdivision are interchangeable words. They want to create one lot and 6 tracks. One is going to be a multifamily lot, 2 are future development tracks, a stormwater recreation track, common area, private right-of-way tracks. And this is a 2-part process with a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Board, and that already occurred last year, and then City Council for approval. So when I said it's still part of the Space Coast Town Center, I wanted to show this image. This is one of the pages from the master plan. Okay, so it's on the west side. Not exactly has everything been built out, in the timing or in the placement that they have here, but again, it's not that it's not associated with Space Coast Town Center. Some people think that because a property is sold, that all of a sudden it's not part of Space Coast Town Center. It still is. It's still bound by the terms of the development agreement, still bound by the terms of the master plan. This is a breakout of the lot sizes, the acreage, and shows you, with the blue lines, sort of where those different lots are. The lot that would be for the apartments is 12.04 acres on the south end, and then you can see the words for some of the right-of-ways, the Track B and Track C. As with all subdivisions and documents that we get, whether they're construction drawings or these, what we call plat drawings, we have to make sure they're consistent with LDR stands for Land Development Regulations. They did submit all the required documents for the final plat, and the plat conforms to FS stands for Florida Statutes 177, the city surveyor reviews, and then we make sure that all final plat items are met prior to signing of the Mylar. They do have some of the roads and water and sewers underway. What isn't finalized is posted in a performance bond to make sure that they do finish. And then the arrow that I have, the blue arrow, Lot 1 is subject to the Martinez Development Agreement of Space Coast Town Center in 2023, which states that for the entire 178.6 acres, the maximum apartments on the totality of this development cannot exceed 2,200 dwelling units. So that's still in existence. That became, part of the development approvals in 2023, and it's still applicable. And with any subdivision, we always look at infrastructure. I'm not going to read the bullet statements, but there is some traffic vesting and sort of kind of a listing that they need to do for the county so that the amount of trips that they were vested for in 2013 is still being captured, and we're still regulating what they have there. They have to coordinate with outside agencies, and some of those with those acronyms, SJRWMD stands for St. Johns River Water Management District, has to do with wetlands and has to do with stormwater. Melbourne Tillman Water Control District, FDEP stands for Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And then, yes, there is still some coordination with the City of Melbourne for water concurrency. So in conclusion, the Planning and Zoning Board conducted their public review on December 14, 2024, and recommended that council approve the Space Coast Town Center West, the final plat, with these 3 conditions. I'm not going to read them, but like I said, the applicant is in the audience if you have questions, and I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant wish to come up and speak?
Cooper Jones, Space Coast Town Center, 1621 Baseline Lane. I'm just here if you have any questions.
Any questions from council? Mr. Frampus?
For years now, we've been looking at this project grow slowly. Where are we at with commercial properties and stuff with your project? Because you keep coming back and making changes and adjustments and stuff, and not seeing any kind of commercial growth. So
That's actually what all this is, attributed to.
I thought most of this was for creating the housing over there on the west side of the Space Coast project.
A portion of that Lot 1, yes, is for the residential component at the southern end. But Tract A is where the grocer site is going to be. And there's about 32 acres there that are going to be commercial.
And you have commitments?
We do have commitments. We have our first retail deal closed on the east side a couple weeks ago. We have 3 or 4 additional deals that will be closing over the course of the next 2 months up on US 192, and another commercial deal on the southern end of St. John's Heritage Parkway. But as was always going to be the case, a very big component to the success.
We knew housing had to come first, and then commercial would follow. But we've had housing there for a few years now, so I was just wondering where we were at.
Yeah, and it's, to be honest with you, I mean, there's been a lot of housing that's come into Space Coast in general, and so there's only so much of that can be absorbed over a short period of time. But there are a lot of additional units coming on, and our hope is that they will continue to be that way. But the market is the market, so we're trying to take advantage as much as we can. And the grocer component to this will be a bit of a game changer, but the grocer kind of works at their own pace, and we're just trying to speed things up as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from council? We're looking here for, the recommendation is to approve the final plat. Looking for a motion? It's not a,
It's not a public hearing.
no. So I'm looking for a motion, looking for some lights on here, and a second to approve the final plat or not to, depending on the council. Mr. Gaylord?
Make a motion that we approve the final plat for Space Coast Town Center West.
All right, thank you very
With the
much.
following conditions that were outlined by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire?
Second.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Gaylord, and we have a second from Ms. McGuire. All those in favor of approval of the final plat for the plat for the Space Coast Town Center West subdivision with the following conditions as listed here. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right, next item, agreement with Brevard County Law Enforcement Dispatch Services. Chief Vesta.
Thank you, Mayor. So we currently utilize Brevard County Sheriff's Office for our dispatch services for law enforcement response. The annual agreement is up for you for consideration today. The only change from previous year's agreements is the dollar amount. We had estimated about 5%, and it came in just under that. I think the previous year's increase was around 3%. So unless there's further questions on the actual agreement, we're recommending approval of the dispatch services agreement in the amount of $142,500.
All right, thank you. Any question? Oh, Ms. McGuire, you have a question? All right, thank you, Mr. Frampus.
Make a motion, we approve the fiscal year 2025-26 law enforcement dispatch services agreement as written.
Thank you. I'm looking for another light. Mr. Gaylord.
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. We have a second from Mr. Frampus. We have a second from Mr.
Mayor, I
Gaylord.
do have a question.
I'm very sorry, Ms. Adams, I didn't see you. Yes, before we vote, may we please have your questions?
Thank you. Chief, I just had a quick question about section 15. I'm looking at, in our packet, it's 8B10 for the page. And I know you said that the only thing that changed in this agreement is that dollar amount, but I couldn't find the previous agreements that have been agreed upon with the Sheriff's Department in this regard. When it says upon the initial expiration of the initial term and any renewal terms, the agreement automatically renews for another 1-year term unless we give, either party gives written notice at least 180 days prior. Has that ever been, at least in your knowledge, and I recognize that, you know, that we don't have tons of years with you potentially reviewing this agreement, but has that ever been utilized where either party has felt the need to either cancel it and then we've brought it back in previous years? Has other cities have they ever had issues with that from what you understand?
I am not aware of any cancellation of the agreement, and really the 6 months is there because you know, if they're staffing up to man a dispatch channel for us, obviously it would be appropriate for them to have a long enough notice, and or if we were to ever seek a different agreement with someone else, just, you know, if that place had to get staffed up, it would take several months to do so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Bentley?
Thank you. Chief, what all cities have a contract with the county locally?
Yeah, so surrounding us, Palm Bay does their own dispatch, Melbourne does their own dispatch, Melbourne dispatches for the airport. Obviously, the sheriff's office is dispatched by BCSO. I don't remember exactly what the northern agencies, many of them have their own. I don't remember which ones are specifically on BCSO.
Do we not know what the cost would be if we did our own?
Yeah,
A lot?
Yeah, 24 hours a day, you're talking probably $400,000 to $500,000 minimum, and that doesn't necessarily include your startup equipment and everything else. So it's extremely cost effective for us to do it through the sheriff's office.
Does other cities do it for other cities, if that makes sense?
They do.
And have we ever looked with Melbourne or something like that to see what they would charge us?
So the interesting thing on that is one of the agencies has made inquiries to me as far as that, but they also know what we're paying for the current agreement, and they know they can come nowhere close to that. That's the word that was passed on to me.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Frampus and a second by Mr. Gaylord. All those in favor with the agreement with Brevard County Law Enforcement Dispatch Services, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, Chief Vesta. Thank you. All right, next item is solicitation ordinance. Mr. Carey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is another in a series of ordinances that I've been working on in the time I've had in order to improve our code. This one was also of interest to the chief because they're the ones that are enforcing the solicitation issues. So I worked with him to update our solicitation issue or ordinance. The current ordinance hasn't been updated since, I believe, 2010. It's in the staff report, regardless. And there have been a lot of court decisions since then that have kind of chipped away at our ability to enforce solicitation ordinances. So the ordinance that you have in front of you is an attempt to take into account the court cases that have been decided that have reduced some of our ability to regulate this area while also keeping the ordinance as much as we can so that the police can deal with solicitors when they become a problem in the city. So the primary goals that I had for the ordinance are to streamline it a little bit, to remove any offending provisions that are no longer enforceable because of the changing case law, and also to ensure that that the police will be able to enforce it where they can, so that we can deal with the solicitors as they do become an issue. I've provided some information about the case law in a different forum that you all have, and I don't know if anybody had a chance to review that, but it kind of sums up some of the cases that are relevant to this ordinance. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it, as is the chief, and as far as the enforcement goes, and I do need to read this aloud as it is an ordinance.
Yes,
So if
please
I may.
read that.
This is ordinance number 2025-13, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Florida, relating to solicitation, revising Section 46-1 of the City Code of the City of West Melbourne, relating to purpose and intent of Chapter 46 of the City Code, amending Section 46-2, providing definitions, amending Section 46-3, relating to restrictions and requirements generally, amending Section 46-5, requiring permission to enter premises, amending Section 46-6, prohibiting harassment, amending Section 46-7, requiring the solicitor to leave when requested, amending Section 46-8, relating to fraud, cheating, and misrepresentation, amending Section 46-9, relating to report of conviction and records, amending Section 46-10 relating to solicitation, sales, or peddling within the streets or right-of-way, amending Section 46-11 relating to exemption for canvassers performing political canvassing activities within the streets or rights-of-way, amending Section 46-21 requiring a permit, amending Section 46-22 relating to application for permit, amending Section 46-23 relating to filing fee, amending Section 46-24 relating to investigation, denial, or issuance of permit, and record, amending Section 46-25, providing causes for the revocation of permit, amending Section 46-26, requiring a notice of hearing, amending Section 46-27, providing for appeals, repealing Section 46-28 to no longer require a badge for solicitation, repealing Section 46-29, deleting a redundant section, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification and scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. Thank you, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
I bet you don't want to repeat that.
I'll have to in 2 weeks, assuming that you vote it forward to go to second reading.
Are there any questions for Mr. Carey? I want to say thank you, Mr. Carey. This is an extra tool for our police officers, for solicitors that come to the doors when in Hollywood Estates or in Hammock Landings, when solicitors are knocking on your door trying to sell you solar panels or whatever. This is an additional tool for our police force to be able to use to help residents that do call the police. So thank you very much. Mr. Frampus?
Thank you, Mayor. Done quite a bit of research on this, and I did read through your summary. Thank you for that that you sent us. Just to point out, a violation of this ordinance, and I wasn't aware, I had to ask Mr. Rhodey, that the penalty phase of a violation of this ordinance is a penalty up to $250 and 6 months in jail, correct? Because it's considered a misdemeanor?
60 days. 60 days in
60
jail
days.
is the maximum.
And that's covered under a different part of our code enforcement book. So I had asked about the penalty. That's if they don't have the permit. So I did have some questions on this. As I said in an email to you that, and I know that we fall under the 11th Circuit Court, Federal Circuit Court, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So the 10th Circuit Court had made a ruling about the curfew times, and I had some concerns with that, and I was thinking maybe we should adjust our time on that, just maybe put it a little bit later, because part of that reading was that it was people were getting home from work, and they didn't have enough time to get out there and do their soliciting after they got their permit. What's your feelings on that, and would you think 8 o'clock would be a reasonable time? Or
Yeah, I mean, I kept it the same because I wasn't sure how everybody would react to increasing it. Currently in the 11th Circuit, there has not been a decision restricting curfews. However, both the 6th or the 8th and 10th, or the 6th and 10th, both have had cases where they've struck down the curfew, and the one that was struck down in the 10th was an hour later than ours. So certainly that's probably the area that could be vulnerable to a court challenge, and I think to the extent that we make it later, it would make it easier for us to defend, because the argument for the solicitors are going to be a 6 o'clock curfew doesn't provide adequate time for them to, to go door to door when people are going to be home from work. So I do think that would be a good change if you are all
8 o'clock?
Amenable to it. Yes, that would be, it would make it easier to defend if we need to down the road.
What do you think is reasonable? Because, I mean, we want to have an ordinance that's going to be, beyond reproach. Why put in something that we know that has already got struck down in court?
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk yet.
Oh, well, hold
It's
on.
not in-
Hold on. Mr. Frampus has the,
Well, I was asking,
okay.
I'm not in favor of anybody knocking on my door after dark to solicit me, personally.
well,
And I don't want my wife answering the door after dark for a solicitation.
it's my suggestion that we change it based on previous court hearings, so that's up to the council to make that decision, I guess. So that would be my recommendation. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, is that from 6 to 7 p.m. or to 8 p.m.?
Mr. Carey made the point that 7 p.m. got struck down in court, and I think 8 p.m. would be reasonable as far as somebody getting home from work and then having to go out and do that portion of their job.
I was just clarifying whether 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock.
And the context of this is when you do restrict speech, even commercial speech, the restriction has to allow people a reasonable, time, place, and manner to do so. And so the court out in Colorado said that the 7 p.m. restriction wasn't reasonable because it didn't afford them enough opportunity. So that's where that's coming from. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the 11th Circuit hasn't decided that. So what we have is legal right now, but that would be an area that would be vulnerable to attack.
And my other, got several questions, I'm sorry. The definition of peddler. If they're a peddler, does that mean that it talks about purchasers as part of a scam or designed to evade provisions of the chapters, and it says that makes them a peddler. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so the main distinction between a solicitor and a peddler is the peddlers are people who go door to door with stuff that they want to sell. A solicitor may come by with pamphlets or, trying to tell you you should buy something, but a peddler is actually bringing things to your house. I don't know how common this is anymore, but, in the old days with the vacuums, the encyclopedias, that kind of stuff.
So it's not saying, this definition isn't saying that they're promoting schemes and things. It's just saying that if they did, they would be termed a peddler.
Correct. It's a way of saying you're not going to be able to evade the definition of peddling by trying to play games with, well, my buddy over there in the car has the stuff and, I don't have it, so therefore I'm not a peddler. It's just an attempt to make it clear that if you're part of a peddling operation, you're a peddler, even if you're not physically carrying the stuff or something like that.
I just thought that the language in there alluded to that peddlers are scam artists and trying to evade the law. So that's not the case.
No, it's not the intent at all. It's,
So on section 446-3, under letter D, page 8C-7, it says solicitors, peddlers, and canvassers are restricted from soliciting, peddling, and canvassing on premise in the areas where a a notice of stating non-soliciting is posted, whatever. I don't agree with that because political soliciting, as defined, is not illegal in that circumstance. So I'm guessing we need to make some kind of distinction, but I say political, but political and religious soliciting doesn't apply in that case. Is that correct?
yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. I think when I bring it back on second reading, I can strike canvassers from that because, you are correct in noting that a canvasser, by virtue of not being commercial, has more protection under the law.
Not all canvassers, though. So I wasn't suggesting that we strike canvassers. I'm thinking maybe we have a different definition because the definition of canvassers includes religious and political solicitor, or religious and political canvassers. So maybe there needs to be a distinction between canvassers and political and religious canvassers, because what I read online, that was the distinction, because not all canvassers apply to the no soliciting signs. Am I right there, or?
Well, yeah, so the definition of a canvasser, just for context, is a person traveling either by foot, vehicle, or other conveyance from place to place in order to solicit opinions for a survey or solicit political support. And so a canvas
support is where I get stuck because that's political canvassing, correct?
Sure, but it's also protected. It's a protected
Correct.
activity under the First
But
Amendment.
under this line here, we're saying it's not allowed under D.
Right, and so that's why I'm suggesting that that I could bring it back and remove canvassers from that, so that only solicitors and peddlers would be restricted.
And that was my question. Is there canvassers that would be restricted to soliciting signs if they're? Is it all?
Not under our definition. Yeah, not under our definition, because our definition of canvassers doesn't have anything to do with commercial. And what the recent cases that have come out in the past 10 or 15 years, some of which I have sent to you, demonstrate is that if it's a commercial activity, the city has more leeway to regulate it and restrict it than if it's not. And so under our definition, canvassers are not commercial activity, so any attempt to restrict their right to speak to you would generally be frowned upon by the courts if it were challenged. So I think it would be best to remove that, and I'd certainly be happy to do so for second reading.
Based on that explanation, I agree. Thank you. On page 8C-11, under letter C, we refer to a license number. Should that be permit number?
Can you tell me what section again, so I can?
Section C, letter C, under 8C-11. It's towards the last sentence of that paragraph. It says, as well as the license number. And is that a driver's license number or is that a permit number?
What section of the code are you? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing where you're.
Page 8C-11.
Okay.
Item C, towards the bottom of that paragraph, it says license number. Should that say permit number or should that be?
Yeah, that's yes, that is that's the way it's worded in our current code, but I think that's a good suggestion to update that to.
Change it from a license to a permit.
Yeah, that's correct. So that's something else I can change for second reading. Thank you for the suggestion.
And on the permit, are they providing a vehicle identification on the permit?
I don't remember whether that was part of the application process or not. Give me a,
And if they are, since canvassing doesn't require a permit, shouldn't it say soliciting or peddling and not soliciting or canvassing? It's right under license number.
okay. Right now I'm looking at, and I don't think there's any requirement in the,
So maybe that
for the
whole line
permit.
needs to go.
Okay. Okay, so can you tell me the line, you're under 8C10 now or 8C?
I'm under the same paragraph where the license number was.
Okay.
You found that, and it's right under that.
Okay,
It says, and other identifying descriptions of any vehicle used in such soliciting or canvassing.
okay.
You don't need a permit for canvassing, so I'm guessing that should either be peddling or,
You're right. Yeah, I can change that to peddling.
or if we don't require vehicle identification, then maybe that needs to go away altogether.
Okay, I'll take a look at that and I'll clean that up for second reading.
And Section 21 under conflicts, is that part of the definition you gave as far as what was repealed? Did we repeal anything other than what you read? Is it
So
says,
there are a couple of sections that were repealed as part of this ordinance at the very end of the current code. The conflict provision is something that we have in all of, it's kind of boilerplate that we have for all of our ordinances. Just to clarify for any readers as well as the court, that if the current ordinance is in conflict with an existing ordinance, the newer one would control. So
I didn't know if we repealed something in doing this new thing, or, so this one, once we approve this, this is going to prevail.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, that being said, I'll make a motion to, we approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-13 with the suggestions I made.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire. Looking for a second? No? Okay. Mr. Bentley. I need a second. Mhm.
Your microphone, sir. And then Councilwoman Adams does have her hand.
Do you wish to not speak right now?
Until you have a second.
Okay, Ms. Adams.
I will second with the question.
Your question, please.
I'm looking at 8C12 in our packet. It's section 4627 in regards to appeals. It says that the appeal shall be taken by filing with the council within 14 days after notice of the action complained of has been mailed to the last known address, with a process for what that appeal looks like. Have we had anyone appeal with the way the ordinance has been currently written?
Not since I've been here. I'm not sure if prior to that they have or not.
We can check with the city clerk when she gets back to the office to see if, I can tell you in my career, no one has ever appealed. But I don't know the history here. Yeah, I don't know the.
Frame is standard, correct?
The appeal in a provision like this is to ensure that if somebody has an issue with a decision that's made to deny a permit, that they come to you rather than going to court, because you're in a position to fix it without having to litigate it if a mistake was made by staff. So it's one of those things that protects us, and then if they don't appeal within the required time, then they really don't have any grounds to go to court if they don't like the decision. So it protects the city, but it's not something that's utilized often, if ever.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're coming back to Ms. McGuire.
To clarify, you had said to move the curfew to 8, 7?
Based on the attorney's recommendation,
I didn't,
agreed.
I didn't see us agree to that.
I don't know if there's a way to actually do it, but in terms of that, is there a way to make that sunset driven? Because if you think about the winter, it's pitch black at 6 o'clock at night, and I don't necessarily think anybody wants anybody knocking on their door at 7:30 when it's black.
I would say we could try it. The problem with the sunset ordinance is that in the winter, that might mean somebody can't knock on your house after 5:30, and I think that would probably pretty clearly be unconstitutional. So if you want, we could do something a little more creative, like say something like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever you all think is best, or sunset, whichever is later, to provide more avenue, but make sure that if it's in the middle of winter and it gets dark at 5:15, that they can still go out until 6. I mean, it's really up to you how you want to handle it. I'm just telling you, based on the case law, that the curfew provisions are certainly subject to challenge, and cities have lost before based on having early curfews. So the later we have it, the more likely we are to prevail if somebody sues us on that.
Chief, would you like to add here something?
I was just thinking, if you want to kind of split the difference, you could say October through March, set a time of, 6 p.m. or 5:30, whatever would fit. And then in the summer hours, April through September, then you would go to a later, maybe that 8 p.m. time frame. Because really, the reason we don't want people out there after dark is for safety, right? And that way, I think maybe you could satisfy both parts of that if you wanted to split the year. I don't know.
Yeah, my thought
I would be
was,
okay changing it to, as the chief said, because I know it does stay light till 8 o'clock later in the year.
Yeah, it could even be based off like daylight savings, because Eastern Daylight Time and Eastern Standard Time usually is when that shift in sunset occurs.
Yeah. Once we get daylight savings time, obviously it starts getting dark a lot later. So, I can certainly reword this and bring it back for second reading, and I could do it in accordance with daylight savings time. And once daylight savings time hits, it's sunset, and during standard time, it's 6 o'clock or something like that. I mean, and see what happens. Hopefully, we don't get challenged, because these things are the issues that cause cities to lose in cases like this. So.
Mayor, can you make sure that Diana is agreeable to that?
I'm watching her right here. I'm waiting for her little hand to go up. But Mr. Bentley is next, and then
Change to second.
Oh, the second. Yes, I'm sorry. Diana, are you amenable to that? I'm seeing her little head.
I am amenable.
Okay. Thank you, Diana. Mr. Bentley.
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever the wording you guys come up with, as long as it's clear that no one's knocking on your door after dark.
Okay.
And then secondly, I know it's not part of this exactly, but what about gated communities? What rights do they have, in the sense that a lot of West Melbourne is gated communities, and we have a sign, for example, on our gate that says no solicitation. Doesn't matter what time it is. How are we protected with that sign, and what rights do someone have to come in a private community that they virtually have to break in the gate or follow someone in?
Yeah, and that is dealt with. I'm trying to find the section, but there's a section that basically says that if you have a no solicitation sign, they can't go to your community, and that includes communities regulated under 718, 719, 20, and 21, which are the various HOA and condo statutes. So
46-3, Section C.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
D, I'm sorry.
And is there something better we can do with the current system? Because I've had people come into our neighborhood, who knows how they get in? Actually, I do, because we have cameras on our gate. But they come in and they say, well, we've got this thing that says we're allowed to solicit at this time, and we got this from the police last week. So, but they don't realize that they're not allowed to still come into a gated community, that's still private. And right now they're not getting that message, or they say they're not getting that message.
Yeah, so that becomes an enforcement issue, and the best thing to do is to call our police department and let them know, so that they can send somebody out there.
So we can't tell them when they get the permit that you're still not allowed to go into gated communities that are so noticed?
So if there's a no solicitation sign at the entrance of the community, or no solicitors or something like that, then they wouldn't be allowed to. If there's not a sign, and if they can get through the gate legally, then it would be up to the individual house.
Right.
So, but again, the police should be able to help you with that if people get in. I mean, there's no, provision of the ordinance that's going to stop somebody from driving through their gate, following somebody if they want to get into your neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I understand that. I'm just trying to, right now, I have people that do that, and then they use the excuse, well, I have a permit that allows me to do this. And they're not getting the information that says, no, you can't do this in a gated community. When they pick up the permit, they're not getting that message.
Yeah, so
Or they say they're not.
we might be able to put a statement on the permit itself that clarifies that. We could work on that on the back end if this ordinance is approved to modify our permit.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a fan of here's the sheet with the rules and the big bold, right? Like, you don't pay attention to that, there's no excuse.
Right.
Certainly with cleaning up this ordinance and making sure that it's enforceable and not going to cause any issues liability-wise, I can assure you that we're going to be a little bit more, less discretionary in enforcing it, especially if they have all those rules laid in a handout that's given to them on the scene.
Thank you.
I will say our typical offenders of this code section tend to not have a permit or tend to have a permit from a different community and don't understand that they've moved out of they've gone across the street, which is a different community, and now they're in our community. And so they may feel that they have a permit or a different city. I'm sorry, they have a permit from a different city. And so the vast majority of our issues are unpermitted solicitors. We very rarely have issues with actual permitted solicitors, and we have very few requests and people who go through the process to actually get a permit to
I understand,
solicit.
but in our community, we have had that, and I talked to the police chief about it. When it actually happened. So, and their excuse was, I just got this from the police department last week. How can I not be allowed in? It's a different rule.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this applies regardless if it's gated or not. If it's posted, even if it's not gated, they're still not allowed in, because that's what I've been telling people, because I read it in our code, so that has not changed regardless.
Yeah, if you have a sign.
Yes, if you have a sign, but you're not gated. You still can't go
The
in.
one thing that we would have to consider on the enforcement side is there multiple entrances and are they both signed? If someone said, well, I didn't pass that sign, and that's a legitimate argument. Where I've seen this become an issue is, let's say an apartment community that's not gated, that they have multiple entrances, and they maybe have that posted at one entrance, and then the person says, well, I didn't know, I came in the other way. So that'd be something that if we did get those complaints, then we would work with the property manager to say, hey, you need to notice this area too, because that just gives us the tools that we need to move them on. So.
Okay, and so now with this extra tool, should this pass first and second, then our officers will be happy to escort them off of the property.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And we have made a couple recent arrests for this, for people that refuse to leave or were disturbing the peace with the way they were soliciting, so after warnings.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus?
That being said, Chief, I think the arrests were made under no trespassing, though, right? Not.
They were, but this just gives us this tool of, we know this is going to, it's even, it's kind of like that preliminary tool, and if someone still refuses to leave after they are told to leave, then it can fall under the trespass ordinance.
Well, traditionally, we've handled it through, telling them once not to trespass anymore, and then the second time, they get in trouble for it. Could this be, or will this be our initial treatment to solicitors if they're doing the wrong thing, that they will get this fine, and that's going to be kind of your orders moving forward?
As you know, when a area gets a reputation that there's enforcement going on, usually that changes behavior. I won't completely take away all discretion from officers, because sometimes there are extenuating circumstances like the one where they had a county permit, and they're just legitimately, there's been no contact with these people. There's never been an issue, and they seem legitimately that they made a mistake. So I don't want to say I would take away all discretion, but we've had discussions in the PD, and if this is passed, there will be additional discussions at the.
I just want to see that this is kind of like the first line of defense
Yeah.
for our communities. Yes, you're going to have discretion, but I'd still want to get the reputation
Correct.
of,
Agreed.
you know,
I
go
feel
get
the
your
same way.
permit or you're going to get a fine.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions before we, all right, thank you very much, Chief. So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Frampus. We have a second from Ms. Adams, and this is to approve the solicitation ordinance 2025-13, first reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Good job, a lot of work, thank you. All right, next item is appointment to the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District Board of Directors. Mr. Rohde.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. I first want to start by thanking Keith Jordan, who's just done an outstanding job representing West Melbourne on the Melbourne-Tillman Canal District. As the council's aware, the district governs a part of West Melbourne in our canal system, and so we have one representative that this council can designate to represent the city's interest on that committee. Keith has done a very good job for us. He's come into the office on numerous occasions, and we've had a good level of communication. And he has hit a point where he is ready to step down, and he's done his time, so to speak, on the committee and fought well for us. So that left an opening in this position, or on this seat. I did reach out to a couple of former employees who had been very involved in the efforts and the coordination that the city's been active with the Tillman District, because it's a very logistical committee, if you will, that deals with the canals and the stormwater movement and some of the issues. Before Keith Jordan was on, we had Keith Mills, who was the city's assistant city manager, who was on it for a very long time, represent the city very well, and helped in that technical aspect. And so, as a suggestion, I had reached out to former city manager Scott Morgan to see if he would be interested in serving. The mayor and I had some conversations and thought that he would be a good representative. And so putting his name forward to represent us on that board, and so his information is enclosed. Again, happy to take any questions or comments on the appointment to a new representative for the Tillman District.
Any questions? Mr. Rohde.
I did not ask him if he got permission from his significant other. He seemed very excited to serve. He's very well familiar with some of our challenges that we have with the Canal District, and so I thought that would be a good fit for if he was interested. And fortunately, he accepted it and seemed very excited to commit to it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bentley.
Yeah, I don't know if you want a motion on that or
Yes.
how to do that. So I would make I think Scott's a great fit. I've been in that meeting with him at that board, and he's very knowledgeable. So I'd make a motion that we approve Scott for that position.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Frampus?
I also believe Mr. Morgan would be a great fit for that. He's always got the city in mind on his decisions, and he's well suited for the position with all the connections he has. I'll second.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Bentley. We have a second from Mr. Frampus to approve the appointment of Scott Morgan to fill the City of West Melbourne City Council appointed seat on the Board of Directors for the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. 6-0. Next item, due diligence for potential property acquisition. Mr. Rohde.
Thank you, Mayor,
sorry.
Deputy Mayor, and members of the council. I'm going to turn this over to Assistant City Manager, Mr. Tom Bradford.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So following a recent council workshop, there'd been some interest in potentially acquiring a roughly 24-acre parcel along Minton Road south of the community park. So staff took steps to sign a land acquisition agreement that would provide for our ability to pursue due diligence period of 90 days with 2 optional 30-day extensions should that be necessary, to determine if the property would be suitable for future city use. So if you all desire to proceed in the due diligence of determining whether that property would be suitable, several things need to take place, including some title work, some environmental study, appraisal, survey, that type of thing. That is above our manager's spending authority. The number that's in the staff report is an estimate based on previously doing this type of work. It could fluctuate a little bit. We don't anticipate to fluctuate significantly. So we're looking for your authorization to allow the city manager to proceed with those due diligence efforts.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd make a motion that we authorize the city manager to pay for the appraisal and other stuff, and I think it was around 40K was the estimate.
That was the estimate, yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Frampus?
A second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Bentley. We have a second by Mr. Frampus to authorize the city manager to pay for appraisal survey, environmental study, and title work and insurance for parcel of property being considered for acquisition. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Okay. We're getting to the end of my pages here. City Council reports. Ms. Diana Adams, what are you up to?
Thank you, ma'am. I think from the last council meeting, the most significant event that I participated in was our volunteer appreciation dinner, which I know we attended as council members to recognize the various residents across West Melbourne, both from a personal level, but also from businesses that represent our community. They volunteer their time. They give us just their energy and their expertise to serve on our board. So it was really great to be able to just appreciate and celebrate them for what they do for our city. And a special note of congratulations to Bill Johnson for being our Volunteer of the Year this year. That was very exciting. So that was my main highlight. In terms of things coming up to note, the West Melbourne is co-hosting the League of Cities this Monday, the 9th. So I hope everybody plans to attend. We will be recognizing the scholarship recipients from this year's Space Coast League of Cities scholarship applications. So just wanted to remind everybody that that is coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley.
Thank you. I've only got one thing. I did send out an email to the council today. Florida League of Cities did release the request for people that want to be on the committees, and I did sign up for the tax committee. We can only have one council member on each committee, so I would encourage you, if you do sign up, let the other council members know so you can prioritize what you put in for that. But it's a short list. There's, I think, 5 different things or so that you can sign up for, and the request for sign up came today. If you need a copy, I can send you a copy.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire.
I will echo how nice it was to get everybody together from all of our different councils and committees that we have. We only really get to see everybody in the same room once a year, so it is always nice to actually get everybody together and see them. And then also, just for the public's knowledge, we do still have openings on some of our boards and committees, so if anybody is interested, please go onto the city website and fill out that application and send it in.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus.
Same as anybody else. I enjoyed going out to see all our volunteers, and Linda was just here. Oh, she's in the back now. Thanks, Linda, for coming out, even though you're not listening to me. I said thanks for coming out to the committee meeting and our dinner and getting your awards. Thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. I was there for that as well, and it was very, very nice. And I also got to go to the induction where Justin Lauer was inducted into the Space Coast Hall of Fame. I got to sit there through the whole thing. It was about 2 hours. There were lots and lots of Brevard, well, I guess they were all Brevard original people that were inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was really good. I had no idea that Brevard was so sports focused. A lot of professional athletes have come from right here. They've come from Cocoa, a lot of them from Cocoa and Melbourne, and it was. I was very happy that I went. So it was a very nice event. So I'm glad he was able to come here tonight. And next we'll move to management reports. Mr. Rohde.
Real brief, thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council members. Quick septic to sewer project update. The team has been working just tremendously hard on getting this project back up and going because we continue to maintain the best we can. It's hard to maintain a gravel road with the road being torn up for the project, and so it's a tremendous effort by the troops to keep that moving forward. But we are making progress. There is a pre-bid meeting for contractors interested in bidding in that project this week. Talking with the Assurity company, they hope to have a contract by the end of June. And so figure another 30 to 60 days to execute and get staging and ramping up of that project, and with any luck, be able to get that project back underway. And so that's good news to get that going. Additionally, the water plant, if you don't drive down the road and take a look at it, it's definitely worth taking a peek. We hope to go, the company building the building, the subcontractor of the water plant, is going to be arriving on site the tail end of this week to start construction with the footings and going vertical next week. So progress is underway. It's almost hard to recognize the site. And then we have started the Westbrook flood risk reduction project, which was a little earlier than we anticipated. Got a great contractor out there so far doing a great job, and so those bypasses will start to be installed soon. Knock on wood, the weather avoids us, but that's a project that could actually be done in 90 days, still during hurricane season. So that would be a positive for us. So those are my reports. The only other thing I'll mention is following the last action item this evening, we do have a shade session to go into a closed session environment to discuss the police contract between the city and the members of the police union. And so we will be asking everybody, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay in the room for that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Carey?
Thank you, Mayor. Yet once again, at the risk of being a broken record, need to remind you all to file your ethics reports if you haven't yet. That is due by the end of the month, so you are now in your less than a month left to do it if you haven't done it yet. I've sent you the link, I think, multiple times at this point, and so please just make sure you do that. I also sent you a link of the joint resolution for the House and Senate for the extension of session. And this is important if you're following any legislation, because that lists all the bills and the only bills that can be considered as the session moves on and they try to pass a budget. So bills that have died aren't necessarily dead, because if they're related to a bill that's still alive, and if it's passed at least one committee hearing, they can potentially amend them on to bills that are live. So if you've been following any legislation, if that's of interest to you, those are the bills to follow going forward. This will also delay the report that I typically do after session each month, or every year, excuse me, about the new bills that have passed, because the session's ongoing, and they have to have the budget done by law by July 1st. So hopefully they'll finish it up by the end of this month, and we can get to that in July. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments for any other? Have I missed anyone? All right, thank you. Then we can adjourn this meeting and recess to our closed session.